So I think all these quarterbacks are fine. I think Tua, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's a little more of a prospect, but he's going to be good. They're all going to work in this league. It's just going to be timetables. Lamar Jackson had to wait 11 games to start. Baker and Sam Darnold, they started him right off the bat. It's going to take time. Josh Allen was pretty bumpy early, but now it looks to be really good. So I saw this yesterday, and it's just, you think I'm criticizing Joe Burrow here. I'm defending him, and remember that for the next 7 minutes. Boomer Esiason, former NFL quarterback, compares Joe Burrow to LeBron James. Okay. So we got Daniel Jeremiah, my buddy, compared him to Brady. An NFL scout anonymously compared him to Peyton Manning. Joel Klatt compared him to Joe Montana. And Boomer Esiason's comparing him to LeBron James. 2 words. Good hell. He is none of those. Those are legends. First of all, when it comes to legends, most, not all, but most have a physical gift. They look different, or they have a skill that's different. Russell Wilson never gets hit. 8 years running around. He is uniquely mobile. He is a legend. Brett Favre had one of the best arms in league history. Joe Namath, one of the best arms in league history. They have a skill. They have something, a physical trait. It's often LeBron James look different. Tiger Woods was driving the ball. They had to change courses for Tiger Woods. So most legends, Trevor Lawrence to me has a chance to be a legend. Clemson quarterback, 6'6", rifle, huge arm, huge hands, massive physical frame. That's what legends look like at 19 years old. Joe Burrow is 6'3.5", 215, kind of a skinny neck. They say average arm. It's not a special arm. His hand size is 9. That's below ideal hand size. He's not physically blowing you away. John Elway walked into this league, first year in the league, strongest arm. Brett Favre, strongest arm. Aaron Rodgers walked in. Dan Marino walked in. Pow! I went to a party one time. I know this is a strange name drop. The late Hugh Hefner. He had the Hef's mansion in real ritzy part of Los Angeles, right? So I got invited to a party, and there was all sorts of stars there. Peyton Manning towered over the crowd. Peyton Manning is 6'5". Have you ever seen Peyton Manning in person? He's 6'5", big head, big shoulders, big butt. He's a big man. There were all sorts of boxers and celebrities there. Peyton, you could see him from 50 feet away. Peyton Manning was big. Tom Brady in person, 6'5". You ever bumped into Tom Brady? Tom's huge. The average American man's 5'10". Tom Brady's 7 inches taller. He's big. He's got big hands. He's got a big butt. These are big athletes. Most legends, LeBron looked different. Tiger looked. Magic was a 6'9.5" point guard. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was running up and down the court at UCLA. They wouldn't let freshmen play. He walked into UCLA. The Bruins were the national champions. He was Lou Alcindor at the time, walked in to UCLA. He was longer and stronger and faster than all the other players who had just won the national championship. He led the freshman team to a 30-point rout at UCLA over the national champions the previous year. He was physically different. Wilt was physically different. Magic, LeBron, Michael Jordan, well, he was so let's just start with that. The physical dimension. He doesn't have it. He's Tony Romo. He's a pro athlete, but he's not physically impressive. The second thing is that it took him years to produce. He only produced in college, not even at LSU, because he didn't produce at LSU his junior year. He only produced when everything went right. Legends produce despite obstacles. He wasn't good his junior year at LSU. They had all these NFL players. He wasn't any good. He completed 57% of his throws at LSU. Tua was great day one. National championship game, great day one. That's what legends do. Justin Fields, Ohio State, sophomore, great. Best player arguably in the Big Ten as a sophomore. Do you realize only 6 players in the first round will probably be seniors? Great jumps off the television screen early. You don't sit around and wait for everything to line up perfectly. Then you lead it to winning. That doesn't. Again, Joe Burrow, you think I'm ripping him. People are calling him a legend. He's not physically elite, and he didn't pop until his final year in college. That's not the way legends work. There's only one comedian in the history of comedy that was a late starter, Rodney Dangerfield. Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, the Dennis Millers, the Steve Harveys, these guys were like 17, 18, 19, 20 and had agents and scouts all over them and were popping. Jerry Seinfeld, Jay Leno, Chris Rock. They didn't hit at 42. They didn't hit at 38. At 21 years old, Andre Agassi, tennis, Serena Williams, it's 12. You don't wait. They don't grow into. Kevin Garnett was like 16 years old, and people are like, he's the next great thing. LeBron was 15, the chosen one. Bryce Harper, cover of Sports Illustrated, 16. So legends look different, and legends don't grow into it. Well, what about Tom Brady? There are exceptions, but it should be noted, Brady physically is way bigger than the average NFL quarterback. You put Brady next to Aaron Rodgers. Tom is significantly bigger. And Aaron's great. He is significantly bigger than Aaron Rodgers. He stands next to Dak. He's bigger. He's a 6'5.5" quarterback, Brady, who got drafted by the major leagues in high school. He is a special athlete. You look at Lamar or Russell Wilson, he doesn't add up there physically as a speed guy. So here's another thing to remember. So physically, he doesn't look like a legend. Secondly, he popped only when everything lined up for him. But here are the players taken of all the current starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Here are the quarterbacks taken as the first quarterback in their draft of the current starters. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, Mitch Trubisky. Here are the current starting quarterbacks in the NFL taken as the second quarterback in the draft they were in. Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Phillip Rivers. A lot more wins. Why? Because Joe Burrow's not going to have the kind of coach Mahomes does, or Wentz does, or Brees, or a Rodgers. When you go first, you go to a worse team, a worse owner, a worse GM, and generally a worse scouting department. So Burrow's going to have a major disadvantage, not to mention he enters a division now which is stacked defensively. He enters a division against the Rooney family in Pittsburgh. Steve Bisciotti owns the Ravens. Those are two of the top 5 ownership groups in the NFL. What does that mean? They hire better coaches, they have better scouts, they have better executives, they have better organizations. If you go back 20 years, and you take the Ravens and the Steelers seasons. So if you go back 20 years, take 2 NFL teams, that's 40 total seasons, right? 4 times the Steelers or Ravens have been below 500. The Bengals in 4 years have been below 500 4 times. Burrow's not a legend. He's not physically a legend. Legends don't wait forever to pop. Don't give me this Michael Jordan. He got cut from his high school team as a freshman. Michael Jordan was a McDonald's All-American who got recruited by, at the time, the most notable coach in college basketball, Dean Smith. Dean Smith was bigger than Coach K when Michael came out. And then Michael won a national title as a freshman at Carolina. And then broke into the NBA and was a blizzard offensively, a relentless tiger, a blizzard. You couldn't stop him. Players couldn't get along with him. Coaches, he got him fired, but he was relentless. Larry Bird couldn't stop him. The Pistons couldn't stop him. Now, he couldn't carry the Bulls over those teams, but they couldn't stop him. So these, oh my Lord, we've got him stacked up as Peyton Manning and LeBron James, and it's just so unfair. He's going to be a nice NFL player. We got to take a deep breath on Joe Burrow. He's been compared to Brady, Peyton Manning, LeBron James, and Joe Montana. Give me a break on this stuff. He's going to be Tony Romo. No titles, good kid, works hard, gets his brains beat in by better organizations in the same division. So, I like Tua, but I do think the medical stuff is, it's worrisome. I've said before, I see Drew Brees, a left-handed. I think he's bizarrely accurate. I think he's an unbelievable leader. And if you asked me to sum up Drew Brees in 2 words, I would say accuracy and leadership. I think Tua is that. But Tua's got an injury, and it's real, and it's scaring teams. Should be noted, Drew Brees' injuries early scared teams. The Miami Dolphins today still regret it. So are they going to pass on Tua if he's available, pass on Brees and Tua? I would have a hard time doing that if I was down in Miami. But Nick Saban knows him better than anybody because he recruited him. He spent 2-3 years recruiting him out of high school. Then he lands him. Then he has him for 3 years. They're very tight. And Saban offers a criticism of Tua that I think is incredibly valid and something I'm not sure you can correct.
Most of his injuries here have occurred when he extends plays, and he does not give up on the play, and it's because he's a great competitor. And you certainly, don't want to inhibit that spirit in any way, shape, or form, but there's also a time to be smart. Both ankle injuries that he got and even his hip injury this year were all because, he was trying to make a play when the play had broken down, and it really, there wasn't anything there, and to throw the ball away sometimes is okay.
Now think about this. Nick Saban's a great coach. He couldn't coach that out of him. Okay. Nick Saban's better than 99% of the guys coaching in the NFL. He may not be Andy Reid or Sean Payton. Maybe he is. Or Belichick. Maybe he is. But he's better than almost everybody on the planet coaching. And he couldn't coach that out of him. And I've said this before. I've ever had a therapist for, I don't now currently, but I've had in my life gone to therapy. And the last therapist I had said something that really stuck with me. I think I told this to Joy before. Change is hard if you wanted to change. Most people don't want to. That people tend to revert back who they are in a time of crisis or when they're challenged. When the pocket collapses, this is who Tua is. He's a playmaker. Can you coach it out of him? Baker Mayfield. People are like, he's just a little cocky. This is who he is. You've got to own it, know it, accept it, and build around it. Kirk Cousins. I've had 2 people inside the Vikings organization tell me he gets anxious in big spots. He's a teeth clencher. That's who he is. Build a formula around him that can overcome that innate DNA quality. Tom Brady is better in the fourth than the first quarter. That's who he is. You can't teach that. Brett Favre's a classic example. We all have a default mechanism, right? We all have something we go to in a crisis. And Brett Favre had one of, if not the greatest NFL arm I've ever seen. It was way up there with Elway, Marino. He just had a cannon. And it was his default mechanism because Brett Favre's arm had saved him in so many instances, high school, college to pro, that anytime there was an issue, Brett was like, okay, this is my de facto out. I am going to let her rip. He leads the NFL all-time in interceptions. He is also one of the greatest players in league history, but that's innately who Brett is. You could not coach that sort of mindset out of him. Oh, crap. Here I am in trouble. I can squeeze that thing in there. That's who he was. And you have to build around that gunslinger mentality. Tua, pocket collapses. His innate response, I'm moving, I'm a playmaker. Nick Saban couldn't coach it out of him. And Nick Saban's a top 5 coach in the world of football. So Andy Reid's talked about this. I find what you are, and I heighten and elevate what you are, and try to never ask what you're not. So the criticism by Saban is interesting. Is Tua bound to get hurt in the pros because he has this quality that Nick couldn't coach out of him? And if Nick can't coach it out of him, could an Anthony Lynn? Could a Brian Flores? It's interesting. It's smart. It's something to think about.